Hello, everyone. This is Dee from H&D Abroad. I am so glad to welcome you to our live today, where we are live and outside and in a different state. So I want to say welcome to those who may be new. Um, This is a channel that is all about sharing my husband and I's move abroad from the US to a place or places that we have yet to choose, but we are sharing all of those decisions, planning, and action steps um, in real time as we make them. Um, we plan to move abroad at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, and invite you to share in your own journey or to consider moving abroad as a way that you can embrace freedom where we don't have to wait on retirement. So I want to say thank you. Um, if you are new, for putting hashtag replay. Um, if you are new, welcome. If you are hitting us after this live, please put hashtag replay. We appreciate you. So I want to say the month of June is really special because of Juneteenth. And so we are going to center the Black Move Abroad journey. In new ways this month. And so I've brought on my friend, my fellow YouTube accountability partner, Aisha. And I want to say thank you, Francis. Hey, Abix girl. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you have not found abroad ability, you need to. I'm going to talk a little bit about her move to Panama before we get into her citizenship journey. So, um, welcome, Aisha. Welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Your information is in the description for
Okay.
folks to find where you are on YouTube and Instagram. But go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and finding interest in my story. My name is Aisha, and I'm originally from New York City, born and raised. I moved to Panama 2 years ago next month, and have been thriving here. It's one of the best decisions I've made. And while decompressing from the US and finding myself again here in Panama, I've kind of gone back to a lot of my roots. So I have a very diverse background, which we'll get into. And one of them is Jamaica.
Absolutely. So I was, I have shared. Let's see. Last week we talked to Vera, who moved to Panama. Panama was one of the first places we had considered, and so that was why I started watching your channel. Um, Explain what is abroad ability, because that is a unique perspective on the move abroad journey.
Thank you. I forgot to mention that part. So I actually have cerebral palsy. So I have a disability. And when I was trying to think of a channel name, a couple of my friends were like, you need to incorporate that you have cerebral palsy, because when people just see you sitting there, they can't tell that you have a disability. So I wanted to kind of showcase that people have the ability to go abroad no matter what issues they may have or think that they have. So I've traveled, I think, to about 26 different countries. I want to go to all of them if I can. But I just wanted people to know that they have the ability and that they can do it too.
Absolutely. And because I'm over 50, I'm considering what things do I need to consider? And one of the things I see on your channel is take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Go to the gym, build your strength, because that's gonna really pay off Um, so when you, let's see, how long ago did you leave?
I left 2 years ago, July.
Okay. July is a beautiful month. It's my birthday month.
Are you a Leo or
Yes.
a Cancer? Are you a Leo or a Cancer?
Cancer.
Okay, I'm a Leo.
I'm right on the line.
Okay.
Right on the line. And so I, thinking about, what propelled you from, hey, I have a life. It might not be my ideal life. What had you think I could this could be better somewhere else?
It was actually during COVID. I had a job that I still had to go to the office. And I had a lot of friends that lived in Italy, the Bahamas, Jamaica, Panama, and I was watching how every country was handling it differently. And I felt like their countries were taking it more seriously. And I was like,
Mhm.
why am I sacrificing myself? Everyone else was working from home. I worked for a utility, so the utilities don't shut down 24/7. We had to go in. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, I worked in wastewater and they were
Oh.
testing wastewater for COVID. So I was like, why am I risking my life? Um, and I was like, I think for all of us, it was a very reflective time. And I'd
Mm.
always wanted to live in another country ever since college. And I was like, I think now's the time. So let me start to look. And I started with what countries might take me based off of my heritage.
Mm.
Um, so
You
my dad was
started
from,
there.
started there, just quickly researching. My dad was from Senegal, my grandmother was from Panama, and my grandfather was from Jamaica. So I started looking, and I was like, I didn't want to deal with hurricanes, so I took Jamaica off the list. I don't speak French. I didn't feel like learning French, so I took Senegal off the list. And I spoke basic Spanish. And I'd been to Panama twice before, so I was like, let me look at Panama. And then they had the friendly nations visa. It was an easy visa at the time. I got in before
Yes.
they changed the amount.
I
Um,
know.
like I just got it. Um,
Wow.
and I came back for a relocation tour, and I figured, this would be the first time I was in a different country looking at it from the perspective of can I live here, as opposed to being a tourist. And then by the end of the tour, I said, I want to live here, and I started the process. I met with the immigration attorney the day before I left. Hold on, I'm just going to close the door 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so what Aisha is describing is something we talk a lot about on our channel, and that is if you're considering making a move, what you're looking at today as far as accessibility for different visa types, um, the economic solvency requirements, all of those things can change. They won't be the same if you're looking at a move in 5 years. So you definitely want to, if you can, go ahead and start your process now, because things definitely can change, do change, will change, and it's not year over year. It could be this month, and then it's different next month. So a lot of the research folks are doing, is can I do this on my own? Could I make the move alone? Or could I would I need a facilitator? Because those folks are at the immigration office often and know how those changes are up to date on those changes. So, what was your approach?
So Panama requires you to use the immigration attorney. You have to. So when I met with one the last day, he carried me through the entire process. So they had an outline of what paperwork I needed to provide to him from the U.S., like my FBI fingerprints, whatever else I needed, and then they just ran with it. And then it actually happened rather quickly for me. It only took about a month.
Oh,
which,
wow. Okay.
yeah, even my immigration attorney was like, something must, I don't believe this. He was like, let me check when I get to the office tomorrow. He's like, I've never seen anything move this quickly. And I was like, my grandmother was helping somehow. I was
That's right.
like,
So you did use your family
yeah.
heritage connection? Okay, that was question
Yeah.
number 1.
So no, I actually couldn't. Ironically, I was one generation away.
Wow.
My
Okay.
grandmother did not get citizenship for my mom or her brother. And
Okay.
Panama only allows it if it's your parents. So I was just one generation away, which is important. So I'm going to put this out here because I'm very passionate about this.
Mhm.
Every country is different with the citizenship by descent.
Mhm.
And if you don't think it's important for you, or you don't see value in the country, or if you don't even see it for your children, your grandchildren might want it. So it's one of the best gifts I think you can give. Um,
Wow.
so anyone who's on the fence or is just, I don't want it, it may not be for you. And I feel like if you have children, we're always trying to make the next generation better or make it easier for them.
Mhm.
This can be something that's carried on forever if every generation does it.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm trying to get my best friend. Her parents, both of her parents and grandparents were, both sets, were Jamaican, and she hasn't, and I was like, "Your dad's still living, go ahead and do it," because, you don't know what in the future might make the difference with having an additional passport, having that access, so, definitely give today is the best day to take action. Another action point that I wanted to bring out is that um, you you have several passports, which means at any point you can use those different passports or relinquish citizenship, but still have a home base. What did you have a strategy as you were looking at getting the passports, or you were just like, I can check yes to these things, and I'm gonna say yes to what I can say yes to.
Yes, it was the latter part. I was like, it's a birthright. If that country allows it, I see it as a birthright, and why not do it? The application fee for Jamaica was only $100. $100 to get another passport. Well, no, to get the citizenship, then another
Citizenship.
hundred something for the passport. Um, why not do that? Like it to me, it was a no-brainer. And years ago, I looked into it, and I didn't fully do my own research. I listened to what people said in like a group chat, and they're like, "Oh, they don't allow it," and I was like, "Oh, okay," but they did, up to a great grandparent.
Wow. Wow,
Yes, what a gift.
you said you said something in the video where you were outlining this whole, um, I uh, the citizenship, and you said, "This is a privilege that a lot of Blacks may not have access to." And that touched me really deeply, because of my own, search, as I'm documenting my own family history. I was like, because I see others that are doing this in Ireland and Italy and Spain and France, in this move abroad space, I'm saying, what about me? And so if you are able to document, sometimes get a little help. There's genealogists and other things, because I was just going to talk about, or when you were showing your grandfather's in your binder, and you were like, "This is his birth certificate," y'all, I teared up because family history and heritage is so important, especially as you get of age and recognize, you know, the value of family, and really want to connect intentionally to it. So, uh, Panama, you've been there 2 years. You've got a thriving friend group. I'm here to like shout out why you should subscribe to Abroadability. If you want to know about Afro-Panamanian culture, Aisha's talking about that. If you want to see her travels, if you want to see her, want to fight her, um, what do you call that? Her personal trainer. If you want to see her fight her personal trainer, get on there and watch the episodes. They are narrated well. The cinematography, you are doing a really great job as a content creator, sharing your story. And we're not lost on the fact that you are intentionally doing this as a person living with a disability, where people feel like I'm confined to the doctors and the medical facilities in my one country. I can find and build my life with all the support that I need outside.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a lot of people when I was moving, well, what about the healthcare? Are you going to come back to the U.S. or like? And I was like, for me, I couldn't let my fear of healthcare or concern hold me back. I've always been the one, I'll just figure it out. Because if I don't figure it out, you're just stuck. And I'm never one that really likes to stay stuck too long. So yeah, I actually don't really have doctors for cerebral palsy.
Okay.
Ironically, people are shocked by that. I might find an orthopedics to give me arch supports or a podiatrist, and that's about it. So I just started taking physical therapy twice a week, and then the other 2 days with my personal trainer. So like you said, we just have to keep moving. We have to stay active, especially as we age, especially as some of us females go through changes. Our body can betray us. Feels like betrayal. So we have to give it all that we can give it, and give it all the tools and all the help that we can give to our bodies. So yeah, so I found what I've needed here for my health.
And you're doing a good job. I mean, I can see, I mean, y'all, she's taking good care of herself. And her cats. So if you want to see what it's like to have pets in a different country, she's telling all of it. The veterinarian stories, where to find pet food. When I say she's giving a great 360 view of her life, if you're interested in Panama, Abroadability is a channel to make sure that you're subscribed to. So you've got all these options, you've got all these choices. Why Jamaica?
I went to an event here and I met the honorary consul for Jamaica for Panama at the event. And she was like, well, you can get citizenship by your grandfather. I was like, I thought you couldn't. She's like, no, you can get it up to the great grandfather. And I was like, you know what? I want all the options that I can have. There was a moment during Panama, maybe, I don't remember, last year, where they were having countrywide protests. And there was like a day or two I was like really uneasy. Not that anything at that time had happened to me or any of my friends, but I was just like, it was just a reminder of how quickly something can change in a country. And I was like, I might need another option. And the option was not for me to go back to the US. So I was like, let me start to research Jamaica and Senegal. So my dad was from Senegal. And Senegal said I needed my dad's birth record or ID, and I didn't have that. My dad passed away over 20 years ago. So I didn't have any paperwork to document that he was actually from Senegal. So I was like, well, I had all the paperwork for Jamaica. So that's why I started with Jamaica. And I'm glad that I did. For whatever reason, it was meant for me to get Jamaica first. And you guys switched. Okay.
Did I switch out?
It was meant for me to get Jamaica first, and I'm excited about it. And I'm going to take a trip there and research my heritage and see if I can find the land that my ancestors were enslaved on. So my slave history goes through Jamaica, not the US. So I was able to trace it back through the Jamaican lineage to the 1600s, I think, in France.
Okay.
And I found what I think was the plantation owner,
Wow.
who might be a relative.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm kind of digging through everything, and it takes time, but I definitely want to take a trip there and kind of retrace my roots and see if I can find where all of my ancestors lived.
I think that's the part that stood out for me the most. And for everybody who's confused, D and I are doing multiple projects today, so we're using a different space, so we're sharing today. That's the part that probably stood out for me the most, was the ability to follow your heritage to a place, um, and and not only that, I think it was important. I think that what I think I understood is you were able, you didn't have to have living relatives to be able to complete the process. I
Right.
think that's a concern for a lot of countries. Is that, who's your living relative? Who do you relate to? Who can you connect with? I know you said for your father you didn't have documentation for it, but is there a workaround with that, even though you don't have his documentation?
Yes, so I still have family in Senegal. So my
Okay,
uncle's on the case. So he's he's gonna try and get my dad's birth record for me. And once he gets that, I'll probably have to fly to New York to the embassy and
right.
submit. They're gonna have to translate documents, whatever, and then submit what they need to. So it's starting. He literally just messaged me this morning when I gave him my dad's birthday.
Okay.
So he's gonna see if he can get my dad's birth record.
Because I know a lot of a big concern, and speaking personally, is when you have when you can only go so far back in your family line, especially as African Americans. My family line is in the South, and when there are missing family members, a parent, an early death of a parent, and there's no information prior to that, or there's a hard sometimes to make that connection to other lineages, to be able to make that connection, for you to be able to say you found lineage in three different countries, and to be able to walk that down. I want to go back, because I think it's important that we always try to make this important distinction between residency and citizenship.
Yes.
On the channel, we do a lot to encourage people to explore residency, um, and tell us why citizenship is different.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people think I have citizenship in Panama. I do not. I have permanent residency here, and what that is kind of like a green card.
Hmm.
Um, I can
Hmm.
live here legally. I cannot vote.
Hmm.
Um, there's some other thing. I don't have access to like their social security or
Hmm.
that benefit.
You do not have a passport.
I do not have a passport.
Hmm.
No. I'm sure there's some other things, but basically, I have the legal right to live here,
Hmm.
and that's it. The citizenship, say for example, Jamaica, I have the passport, I can vote. Oh, working.
Yeah, I
That's
was
another.
going to say work. Right.
So, say for example, certain countries, United States, Panama, they have protected
Hmm.
professions. So, I was a civil engineer. I cannot work in Panama as a civil engineer.
Okay.
No matter how successful or how specialized my resume might be, it is a protected profession.
Hmm.
So I could work for maybe a consulting firm that's not Panamanian, but I legally cannot work here as an engineer. So as a citizen, I could. As a permanent resident, I cannot. In Jamaica, I can vote, I can work, I can whatever you can do as a citizen. I have those rights.
So, do you plan to? So, is Panama your current settling place? Do you plan to spend time in Jamaica?
I think I do. I will. Right now with the cats, I'm not moving them anywhere else. They're going to pass away in Panama.
Yeah,
But
understood.
I think once they've passed, I'm going to see where the wind takes me.
Okay.
I don't feel like you have to be tied to one place. I feel like now that I've left the US and I've kind of cut that tie, there's a sense of freedom that I have, a global
Right.
freedom that I didn't
Right.
fully appreciate before. So I'll see where the wind blows. But I definitely want to
When-
spend time in Jamaica. I want to go back to Senegal. and then see where else.
So were you motivated? Yeah, go everywhere. Were you motivated to get your citizenship because it was available, or did someone say, "Hey, you need to look into that"? What drove you in that direction more than just because I'm from Florida, so I
Okay.
have a lot of friends who have Caribbean background, and they spend time, they go, they visit, they stay, their parents or family members have property, but most of them are not pursuing citizenship. What brought on I'm going to get my citizenship versus I'm just going to access my ability to be here?
I think decompressing in Panama and kind of trying to trace my roots here.
Hmm.
My grandmother was from here. I tried to find information on her twin sister, and my great grandfather.
Okay.
So I'll get to that in a second. They didn't have any information on my grandmother's twin sister.
Mm.
They're twins.
Mm.
But they had my grandmother's birth record. And I was able to, my great grandfather was from Jamaica, separate from the one I applied under. So I have two Jamaican lineages.
Okay.
He worked for the Panama Canal Railroad. And I emailed the Panama Canal and I said, this is my great grandfather's information. I think he worked for them. Do you guys have anything? And in 2 hours, they sent me his work document with a photo.
Mm.
And it said where he lived in Colón, Panama. And my friends and I took the train to Colón. We had someone meet us there, and they took me to the street that my great grandfather worked on or lived. And I literally was walking in his footsteps.
Wow.
I'm gonna tear up. But it was so powerful that it just made me want to claim what I could claim. Like it was a part of me, and why not claim something that's available to you?
Mm-hmm.
So that journey back here in Panama, I think kind of fueled me to reach every possible route that I have.
Wow. Okay. So was how I know you said there was a low financial cost. Was there a highly detailed process in in completing the citizenship?
Okay, so I'll be brutally honest. I flew to the Bahamas
Okay.
to get this done.
Okay.
So
Why the Bahamas?
because their consulate responded first.
Got it.
I had emailed a bunch of you had to go through a consulate or go to Jamaica. So I had friends in the Bahamas. I was like, I can go there. I'm not paying for housing, the plane ticket. So they responded first and were very responsive.
Okay.
Throughout me asking questions, whatever. So although the application was only $100, I had the plane ticket.
Oh.
Right. Then whatever other fees, like I had to reorder my grandfather's birth record. So that might have been another $100. But in all honesty, all the paperwork was probably less than $300 or $400.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the process took how long?
I think I started it in late November, and I received my citizenship paperwork in March.
Okay.
And a bunch of my friends from Panama went with me.
Oh, great. Yes, make it a whole trip. That's smart. What potentially was the most difficult process, or what part of the process, if someone were doing this, might be the biggest hiccup? What are some places that people should say, hey, spend more thought time in this part of the process?
That's a really, really good question. I think gathering all the required paperwork ahead of time and knowing exactly what's needed. So I had an old decrepit birth record, and I was like, oh, here, use this. And they're like, no, you have to order a new one. I was like, what? Oh. So $100. And then because I did it in another country, they needed a bank note or a bank check from that country. I couldn't just use my credit card for that fee. So I had to get one of my friends to take me to the bank, take money out of his account. Got it done, but Those are the steps. So if someone's applying for Jamaica or any other country, if you have an old document, research if you need an updated one because you
Hmm.
have to pay for that and it'll take time. It took less than a month, but if you're impatient or you're eager, if you have to do that for numerous people, I would just get it done ahead of time before you submit all the documentation. Also, if there are any name changes, like if you got married
Hmm.
and changed your name, any legal name changes, you have to have that documentation.
Okay, so when we got our residencies in Mexico, our first trip we used a facilitator. In in some of our research for housing to potentially get our visas in Ecuador, we've been in touch with lawyers. What's your recommendation on legal, like attorneys or facilitators in any of the process?
Not for
What's
Jamaica.
the okay?
It was strictly through the honorary consul. They handled
Okay.
everything. And
Okay.
even here's a thing that people need to know. If you do go to another country to have this done, all of your paperwork goes back to that consulate. So my
Okay.
citizenship paperwork went to the Bahamas. My passport went to the Bahamas. It didn't come to Panama. So you either have to go back to that country where you started the paperwork, or you can pay in advance for them to forward it on to you.
Okay. That's important to know
Yes.
because if
And
you're
not
not where it's coming,
yes, yes. And not every place will want to receive or ship a passport. So like here in
right.
Panama, we might use like a mail forwarding, like mailbox, etc., or whatever.
Hmm.
They will only ship a passport from embassy to embassy, consulate to consulate.
Okay, so let's put a pin in our regular statements here. This is further information that do your research.
Yes.
This is that is a highlight of that point there because I have watched people who said, "Oh, we went to get," you know, I watched a young lady who was getting her husband went back to get his Mexican citizenship. His parents were from Mexico, and there was so much documentation they didn't have with them, and they had to call back home to get it done and sent, and it was so much extra work as a process. I know that understand that every it's not going to always never losing my words. All systems are not going to be as concrete with giving you information as we'd like. Even when you do your full research, and we always find people who provide you your full level of information and documentation so that you can take care of the things you need to take care of. But put in the time and the research so that you can find the information you need. And when you show up, you have as little struggle as possible. That's important. We freestyling in these situations is probably not a big, it's not a good idea. And one of the things that Dee and I learned is the importance a lot of times, especially with things like I know you mentioned in your video, birth records, marriage or death records, divorce documents, getting those things updated and having them, like you said, you brought a birth certificate and they were like, yeah, that's too old, get that done. And thankfully they let you were able to get that done in the area. I've had people go through a whole process of searching outside where they had to go and they had to come through and they had to get it apostilled and and if you aren't ready for that time wise, so give yourself patience in the process. And if you aren't ready for that financially, because again, everybody isn't going to be $100 application. uh, so let's see what are some other questions I had. You mentioned in your video the one of the benefits of being a descendant, a citizen of Jamaica, was it allowed you to be a part of the CARICOM um,
Community.
network
Mhm.
community, which for those who don't know is kind of like with the European Union. You want to explain that further? Because I thought that was really great. We don't always understand the benefits. So that and any other benefits you see to that.
Yeah, so I'm still researching that. I'll probably do a video on that as
Hmm.
well. But there are certain Caribbean countries that they're part of the CARICOM community. So, say for example, if I fly to, I don't know, pick one, Barbados,
Hmm.
I potentially can just go through the Barbados immigration line, and I don't have to go through the other immigration line. So it's
Hmm.
almost like I'm part of the country, but I'm not part of the country, right? I might be able to stay a bit longer. Some of the countries I might be able to potentially work there. So there are
Okay.
just some benefits to being part of that Caribbean community that I didn't really give much thought until I received it. I was like, wait a minute, wait. There are more benefits to just Jamaica.
Work is a big one. Um, as we are gathering our visas, we've had to try to find out, okay, what kind of work can we do? Um, I know you're saying that in Panama, you have a protected position. Have you found a workaround with that in Panama, or is that something you're gonna carry
I don't,
over if you spend time in Jamaica?
I don't really want to go back to work. Not in the traditional sense. I don't want a 9 to 5 again.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm open to doing consulting or some advisory work or volunteer, but I don't want a traditional 9 to 5 again.
Okay.
I would contribute to Panama or Jamaica in the realm of wastewater treatment somehow. But once I quit my last job and tasted this freedom of not having to ask someone to take off time for a vacation or having to wake up a certain time, I don't want to do that ever again.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's where I'm working towards. Absolutely. We know the connection between citizenship passed down to children. What are the potential benefits for someone who has a citizenship for a spouse? Are you aware of that?
So I think for Panama, Jamaica, you are able to get citizenship for your spouse. I don't know the
Okay.
steps to that, but I do recall reading that. And I know for Panama, there are a couple. No, I don't know. I know people got residency
Okay.
to be your spouse. But I
Okay.
think for Jamaica, and I'll put it in the comments later, but I believe for
Hmm.
Jamaica, you can get it for your spouse.
Okay. This process and listening to the video that you had, I'm pretty sure Danica already linked it, but listening to that process, and I was just like, I wish I had a connection like that. I know somebody mentioned that earlier. It's like just being able to say, you know, uh, I can directly look at my lineage landing here, and I can potentially reap all the benefits. I hate that you missed your point on the Panamanian citizenship, because just dabbling all into those and the history of that, I would love to be able to tap into more of my past history. Um, there is a line we've been working on following the line as much as possible. In some areas, it's a little more distinct than others, but to be able to say, "Hey, I have relatives and they come from here, and I can see the history, and I can good and bad, highs and lows," and you can tap into that. There's a question here from Simone. I guess goes back to what I was asking you earlier. How are you supporting yourself?
So it's a combination of things. My mom passed away. Let me rewind here. My mom had dementia and diabetes, and she was in assisted living in outside of Houston for almost
Hmm.
8 years.
Hmm.
And during COVID, I couldn't visit her because they locked down all the facilities. I'm getting to your question, Simone. It's going to come full circle. You couldn't, a assisted living, nursing homes, you weren't allowed in. So I was relying on the staff there to take care of my mom and keep me updated. And it was during that time I was like, well, I don't really have to live here anymore because of my mom,
Hmm.
right? I was like, it's okay potentially for me to leave her because I can't even go to see her now. Everything's done by video. So I got my permanent residency in Panama while she was still alive. And I think I had it for 6 months or a year before she passed away. When she passed away, she gave me one of the greatest gifts. I received half of her pension for the rest of my life as a death benefit from her
Wow.
401. So when she retired, she took a smaller amount of her pension for herself to be able to give me that death benefit.
Wow.
So part of my supporting of myself here is her pension. Then I had my own savings. I'm trying to ramp up the YouTube and everything associated with that. And then I do some engineering consulting in the US. So between those three things, I'm supporting myself.
Yeah. Simone says sorry for your loss. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I the information that you provided, the inspiration for um, expanding our boundaries. I definitely want to appreciate that and
Thank
what you
you.
brought to the conversation today.
Thank
For those of y'all who are later coming in, Dee is in the middle of a project, and so she did the first part, and I'm finishing out. I know we're weird seeing us halfway through the screen, but we definitely are very appreciative of you spending the time with us and sharing this information. Um, please follow Aisha at Abroad Ability. Subscribe to her channel. That's it's in the description. We are a community. And as a community, we continue to grow together with information and options and opportunities. And is there any other information or things you want to share with us before we wrap up today? Anything that you think is important or inspiration that you want to share?
I do want to say this. So for those of you who, like you said, you don't have a connection elsewhere or an immediate one, sometimes the DNA testing can help. Um, African Ancestry, I did all my DNA testing. I did all of them. And African Ancestry came back with Sierra Leone.
Okay.
I didn't know that. And Sierra Leone has a partnership with African Ancestry that if you come back with that in your DNA, Sierra Leone will give you citizenship.
Okay.
Now, there are things that you have to do for that, but that might be an option for some people that just want another connection somewhere else. So I would say if you're open to DNA testing, it might work out in your favor.
Got an extra comment here.
Boop, boop.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
For having me.
Thank you for everybody who came, spend time with us in the chat today. If you're watching us later, remember to hit hashtag reply in the comments. If you have any, we always respond to our comments. Aisha will also respond in the comments if she sees something she can respond to. We are H&D Abroad, and we are abroad right now, out and about. Good to see you all, and we'll see you all again next Saturday. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.